My 23 female boyfriend, 24 male, got really jacked, and now I'm no longer attracted to him. We've been together almost 4 years. Recently, he's been getting really into fitness and weightlifting. Our cupboard is full of protein powders, and he's seriously gained a ton of muscle and is significantly more cut than he was before. This is not saying that he was out of shape before. We've both always been healthy, but the focus on weightlifting and muscle growth is new as of 6 months ago. I should clarify that when I say he's gotten into fitness, I don't mean the whole culture that can negatively come with it. He's not looks maxing or fallen into the red pill or anything. He's still the extremely sweet, generous guy he has always been. The only personality change is around our meals, where he insists on weighing out his portions and cooking for himself. I can understand the intensity and dedication, as I used to dance semi-professionally, but quit to focus on academics halfway through college. This is all to say I still love him, but something about his new body turns me off. The best I can describe it, as you know, is in the Marvel movies. He used to be more like Loki, and now he's like Thor. There's nothing against Thor, but I feel like there's a lot of girls like me that agree that Loki is objectively hotter. Our sex life has suffered. I don't think his stamina is better by any measurable degree, and the posturing and visual of him shirtless gives me more images of stuffy Hollywood actors and fake online personalities than the sweet guy that I know he is. General intimacy is also on the decline, as things like cuddling or just making out aren't as comfortable for me anymore. How can I explain this to him? I'm sure he can feel me pulling away, and by God, I don't want to hurt him. I'm wondering what his reasoning for all of this is, other than self-improvement. I promise I still give him compliments and pump up his self-esteem just as much as I used to. If it's an insecurity thing, I'm hoping it's not from me. All this to say, I have no plans on breaking up, but I'd like to be physically attracted to him again. I mean, I don't think there's much you can do about that. Like, I don't think you can be like, hey, so can you actually get a dad bod again? Because while I do agree, like, I've always felt like men who, like, need to be extremely, which don't come for me for this, okay? If you're a man and listening, this is just how I've felt. I've always felt like men who need to be extremely cut and, like, chiseled and it's, like, almost over the top. I've always felt like that's a performance for other men, because most women I know aren't attracted to that type of body, which obviously there are some women that are. But a lot of women I know would much rather have just like a regular looking guy with some muscles, sure, nice and like fit, but not like over the top, like so into his looks and like so chiseled and so like that's all they think about, and it takes up such a big part of their lives. And so I've always felt like that's for the male gaze, and like the female gaze is more so like, I'm trying to think of a body type that's like, I'm trying to think, probably like, I don't want to say something so extremely unattainable, but I feel like you get what I mean. All right, there is an edit, and it's long. It's basically an update. I think people are misinterpreting what I'm saying. We're both muscular already. I'm talking about the new build on top of what was already there. I won't speak on steroid use, because if he's using it, it's without my knowledge and I have no oversight. Someone in my DMs mentioned something about a Twitter post a few months ago from the artist Ollie Murs, in which he changed dramatically to be what a lot of men find more conventionally attractive, and people were shocked by women's preferences in the comments. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know if I can post links in here, but he went from a bit skinnier in the before pic to not as dramatic, but still aligned with the second pic. Someone also said something about a meme floating around a while ago using the Loki and Thor analogy. I don't remember seeing it, but perhaps I did and subconsciously saved it to use here. I don't see the new development as improving himself or necessarily healthy. I don't think having the lowest body fat percentage as possible is healthy. I also worry about his cardiovascular health, as the increase of mass makes your heart work harder and doesn't necessarily correlate to better health outcomes, especially if you neglect cardio in fear that it limits your gains. Perhaps I have some dance trauma to blame for this, or perhaps I'm interpreting the science wrong, but this is my view of things. I'm not sure if Reddit is being Reddit here, but the general consensus in the last few hours is that I'm a bad person and I should dump him. That's not happening. I still love him deeply and with all of my heart. I'm just simply asking how to get over / address the newfound lack of physical and sexual attraction. And even then, it's not 100 to 0. My libido didn't fall off a cliff. It's a preference, which I can overlook due to so much other good in him. Forgive me for being defensive, but the amount of assumptions people have made about our relationship is astounding. I'm not insecure personally or in our relationship. He supported me when I was stressed out, finishing my degrees, and I'm supporting him as he finishes his, both emotionally and partially financially. Lastly, I haven't thought of this before, but I got tipped off about the possible intention to propose right after graduation, and a new part of me thinks he's doing this to look as good as possible during these upcoming milestones. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think it's fine to like feel that way. I mean, your feelings are your feelings. You're valid in feeling that way, and no one can really change you being attracted to what and like what you're attracted to. And that goes with everyone, like with everything. But obviously, I don't think that you can say anything to him, because just imagine like if he came to you and said, "Hey, I'm not attracted to your body because of this." Like, you don't want someone telling you what to do with your body and trying to control how your body looks. Like, I certainly don't want that. So I'm not really sure. I think maybe just work through it or something and just be like, use your emotional love towards him to fuel. I don't know, guys. Please. I don't always have advice. I don't have the best advice in every situation. So I really, honestly, I'm going to rely on the comments for this one, because I don't know what you should do to like make it better. The only thing I can say is just don't tell him, because please, for the love of God. This person said, yeah, this is tough. You really can't change what you're attracted to. I don't blame you. I'm not attracted to those bodies either. There's also no way to bring this up without hurting his feelings, and you should never ask a person to change for you. All you can do is be honest with him, but this sounds like a deal breaker. I don't think that it's necessarily a deal breaker, but I also don't agree with the fact that you should be honest with him. In certain scenarios, I don't think you should be honest. Genuinely, this is one of those. Okay, here is an update 1 month later. Hi, I really don't feel obligated to update, but I felt it was a little important due to the amount of attention that my post got. Before doing so, though, I wanted to address everything systematically. So scroll down a bit if you only want the update. My lack of desires does not come from the fact that his body has changed. It comes specifically from the type of ultra fit his body has changed into. Upon reflection, I kind of just find the bulging muscles, super veiny, dehydrated, and shrink-wrapped look gross. I still think I speak for a lot of women when I say this. That's all to say, it's a preference. I don't care what you think is good looking. I'm talking about myself and my relationship, which should only consist of two people's opinions. Speaking of opinions, I tried my best to read all the comments, and wow, people got passionate, lol. Breaking up was never on the table, and the insistence we do so was profoundly unhelpful. I'll acknowledge that upon reflection I have bias towards certain body types, but so do almost everyone else. Mine partially stems from being in the dance world, but the sentiment I have towards a super chiseled look is shared by a lot of women. I would even go so far as to say most. One of the things I did take away from my previous post is that I was doing nothing good by keeping myself from talking to him. Between our schedules and other complications, getting sick and last-minute travel, we finally got the chance, and I got the courage to talk about 2 weeks ago. We were in the house joking around and chatting about various plans, as well as reflecting on our past. Some good advice I took from here was to phrase it along the lines of, "I miss your old body," to which he didn't react to the revelation positively or negatively. He just gave me some affection, and we just continued doing our own thing. This last weekend, we had an event to go to that was somewhat affiliated with fitness. There, I asked if he was doing it for himself or if there was something underlying. So we finally had a more productive conversation where we were able to lay down that, yes, he's noticed I've pulled away sexually, but he attributed it to general life changes and stress. He now knows I'm not into his body the way that it is currently. Feelings were bruised a bit on both sides, but nothing that we can't/haven't already gotten over. He has a desire to spend more quality time together. This might mean cooking together again or manifest as going to the gym together, as I primarily attend my work-provided one. Any other suggestions about how to increase time together without expending too much energy? Lastly, he's been working out so hard in his own self-interest, but we were able to uncover that it's more of a stress response and a way of obtaining control than a desire to look a certain way. I should have prefaced, but didn't at the time because I felt that it was too much information to divulge online. But he's in his final semester of a graduate degree in epidemiology, which you can imagine is extremely important and stressful. On top of that, as well as actively searching for postgraduate employment, his father is in hospice, which is actually where I got the tip off that he might potentially propose soon, as he would want his father to see him engaged before he passes. Also, to add, as for why I couldn't just open up and talk to him, with our current schedules, we only see each other for a few hours in the evening, if lucky. And it was much more important to me that we have a pleasant evening and unwind than bring up something potentially uncomfortable. So, all in all, he's aware. We had a mature conversation about it. We uncovered where the actual tension originates. We might try to start cooking together / going out again, and we still love each other, but it would probably be a good idea for him to see a therapist for a second after all of this. Overall, it's a small bump in our relationship, not the devastating crash and burn Reddit likes for it to be. I'm looking at it through the lens of this too shall pass. There's being fit for health, which we both already were, and there's jacked for aesthetics. I do not think pushing to achieve such a physique is an upgrade in any way. I do not find it healthy, nor do I think it's sustainable. Jealousy and insecurity have nothing to do with the fact that I think dieting for an ultra low body fat percentage should not and cannot be construed as bettering yourself. Having so much muscle mass doesn't, in fact, correlate directly to strength, and the cardiovascular and hormonal risks are just not worth it. The discipline is admirable, but I think we're in a strange place in history where some people find that such proportions are the peak of human performance and are most desirable, and that it is something that is realistic and attainable that everyone should strive towards. At a certain point, putting so much focus on body composition and having such a tight grip on your food restrictions borders on orthorexia. I was a dancer. I know what eating disorders look like. I can say with confidence that I feel like, along with being more attractive, my boyfriend was healthier before all of this. I'm not showing him this post partially because of the proposal thing, but also because you guys can kind of be assholes, lol. Well, I'm glad that you guys figured that out. And honestly, I agree with you in so many of the things that you said. And the eating disorder thing, I've always felt like it can be in so many different ways. Like, it doesn't just have to be, and I feel like a lot of people who aren't really familiar with eating disorders, like, I mean, maybe it's common sense, I don't know, but some people just think like, oh, if you're ultra skinny, that means you have an eating disorder. But there are so many ways in which eating disorders manifest. And I've always felt like the bodybuilding community is in a different version of an eating disorder. Because when you're putting so much focus on your body and looking a certain way and like depriving it of certain things to do this and make it look this way and that way, and it's taking over your entire life, I think that that is just like so unhealthy. And I think that it's so damaging mentally. And that's coming from someone who struggled with an eating disorder for so long. And honestly, like, something that I'll always struggle with on and off. And I think that's just with anything. Like, I think that eating disorders can be similar to like an addiction, and it's something that you're going to be working through for the rest of your life rather than something that you just ultimately get cured from, especially because I've experienced it myself since I was like 12 years old. Like, the first diet I ever went on was when I was like 12 years old, and I literally set like this Tumblr body as my screensaver, and I was literally 12, and I was like, okay, so in the morning I'm going to eat yogurt. And then, like, I'm going to go to the gym after I get out of middle school and sit in the sauna in a sweatshirt. And, like, it was insane. So, yeah, that's been my life for the past, like, 16 years on and off. But definitely within the last 4 years, I've been a lot healthier. But there are times in which I do, like, sink back into that version of myself. And I think I'm a lot better at pulling myself out of it now, but it still doesn't make the insecurities about my body any different. And it's so crazy because, like, no matter how good I look or no matter how bad I look, no matter how much I weigh or how much I don't weigh, I've always looked at myself the same. And then I like look back at pictures of myself of when I was like way skinnier, and I think like, wow, I've gained a lot of weight since then, but I still feel the same as I did. Like, back then I still felt like I was the size that I am right now. Like, I still felt like I was way, way bigger, which I'm not saying that I'm like huge or anything, like whatever, but I definitely look at myself like I'm just so I just look at myself as so unhealthy, and like I pick apart my body in such weird ways that people probably don't even notice, but I think it's just a mental thing, and it's so annoying, and it's always been a struggle. And that's just how I remind myself, like, no matter what you do, like it sounds kind of negative, but it's like no matter what you do, you've gotten to the skinniest point of your life and you still felt like you looked terrible and like you needed to lose more weight. So I try to use that to remind myself that like there's no point in going down that rabbit hole again, because it's never enough. But yeah, it's such a hard thing to struggle with. And I think once you get into that type of like eating regimen and working out regimen, it's really hard to get out of. And it just can be it's just so damaging. It's like the worst feeling in the world too. One of the worst feelings in the world. The top comment says, this reminds me of the story where the girlfriend disliked that her boyfriend lost weight because his stomach lined up in just the right spot to make her orgasm really easily. I doubt I'll find it again, but it's interesting what little things can have an interesting, unexpected impact. Wait, what? before he lost weight, the stomach lined up perfectly to make her have an orgasm? That's actually hilarious. Never heard of that before. This person said, I haven't read the story, but my interpretation is that when boyfriend had a bit of belly on him, it helped stimulate the girlfriend's clit, making orgasms during P and V much easier. Once he lost the belly, she lost that extra stimulation, and P and V became less fun. Guys, all you have to do is get a Rose toy. I promise you. That is genuinely like the savior of all lives. If I could recommend any one thing that has to do with sexual stimulation, I don't know what to call it, but like that is what I would recommend. Truly. We're going to move on to the next story. Love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.